And welcome everybody to Daily Intimacy. It's Tuesday morning, and I'm really happy to be here with all of you. And it's so lovely to have 25 of you on the line this morning. There's like 100 people that have registered for Daily Intimacy now, which is really nice. And really happy to be here with one of my dearest friends, Penny Gold. And yeah, just thrilled. The week has so much to offer with so many beautiful people, not only speaking and sharing their wisdom, but also all of you that are showing up to share your wisdom with all of us. The group energy, the group support, the group wisdom is so helpful all the time, but certainly really helpful at this time. So yeah, so welcome. So if you're just joining, just in the chat where you're calling in from, and on a scale of 1 to 10, how you're doing this morning, 10 being terrific, 1 being not so great. So feel free to do that. Again, I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you want to speak or you have a question, please put that in the chat. You can also click on the word participants and you can raise your hand that way. And I'll be monitoring that as well. But just know it's only me, so you know, I'm doing the best I can. It's pretty easy to do. But if I miss you somehow, just give me a little ping in the chat and I'll see it. Okay, so I want to invite you all to have a breath and gently close your eyes. And again, just give yourself a check to make sure you're muted. Actually, I'll take care of it. Okay, so have a breath and gently close your eyes. And feel comfortable wherever you're sitting, or maybe you're standing, lying down. You can be anywhere for the first couple of minutes, or just ground and connect as a group this morning. So nice deep breath in through the nose, filling your belly, and then a soft exhalation. And again, a nice deep breath in through the nose, filling the belly, and exhale. And continuing to do that, breathing in and breathing out, feel yourself supported by however you're sitting, whether that's a chair lifting up to support you and gently inviting you to raise and straighten your spine a bit, feet on the floor. Perhaps you feel supported with something at your back. And I just want to invite you to imagine a beautiful mountain, perhaps somewhere you've been or something you've seen in pictures or magazines. And just bring yourself into connection with the mountain. Notice the peaks, notice the slope. Notice how big and majestic the mountain is. And notice what season you're in at the mountain. Is there snow? Are there daffodils on the side beginning to grow? Or are you in summertime? Lots of heat. And as you breathe, imagine the mountain breathing with you. A gentle pulse of the earth, the breath of the earth, and the breath of the mountain. Expanding with you as you breathe in and resting with you as you breathe out. And as you continue to breathe with the mountain at your side, get a little closer. And a little closer. And see if it feels right to become one with the mountain for a moment. Just feeling the strength, the certainty, the stability that the mountain provides, no matter what's happening around it. Winds blowing at top speeds, weather coming in, weather coming out, but the mountain remains steady and strong. Just a few breaths more in this beautiful connection. And then choose whether you want to stay with the mountain, embodied with you, connected with you as you begin to make just gentle movements to come back, or whether you want to step outside or separate from and just have the mountain at your side or at your back. Whatever you choose is right for you. Either way, gratitude for the majestic mountain. And have a breath and gently open your eyes. And come on back. Thank you all for being here. We've got 30 people on the line right now. So anybody who's arriving, I invite you to say hi in the chat, where you're calling in from, scale of 1 to 10 if you'd like to say how you're feeling, and maybe also how you're feeling now after that brief centering and meditation. As you do that, I'm going to introduce my dear friend and colleague, Penny Gold. I like to call her Penny Gold. Her name is Penny Gold once, but I think Penny Gold is like the quintessential name. And so I know you use it a tiny bit, but
I do.
I love it. Anyway, I'll let Penny introduce herself, but I'll just say that Penny's been teaching internationally for a group that offers courses on sacred sexuality and shamanism. And she's a psychologist. She's been in private practice and working in communities and for many, many years, and brings a lot of wisdom and a lot of life experience to this moment. And what we chose and she chose as a topic today is about being present and how to be present at a time when everything there seems to be rocking and rolling and kind of all over the place, and our ability to ground and to be present with what is absolutely vital to not only surviving but thriving during this time. So that's certainly what I'm going for, thriving during this time, not just surviving it. So welcome, Penny. Thank you much for being here. Just a note to the folks who are here, speaker view gets Penny or me in the big screen, and gallery view gets the Hollywood squares. So you can see people. You can scroll left and right to see who's on the line, and yeah, choose what works for you. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. Okay, turn it over to you.
Hi.
Good morning.
Hello. Welcome to everybody. Good morning. Yeah, this is early for me. I'm not a morning person for the most part, but here I am. So glad to be with all of you this morning.
You were here yesterday,
and I think
too.
I was. I'm going to try and during this time, maybe I can change my my hours around in the world. That would be great. You know, I think that one of the things for me about this this virus and the way it's taken over the globe right now is that it was interesting, your meditation about the mountain and Mother Earth being there and being stable with all of this, and we've got all this change and chaos going all around us, is it reminds us as human beings that we're the fragility of our lives, and the fact that we're not as in control as we often like to think that we are. And so here we are facing these in, like, so fast your head spins changes in our worlds, and everything's just been turned upside down and on its head. So it reminds us that everything is temporary here, and we're always in this process of change. So it forces us to kind of look at things in a completely different way than we usually do for ourselves. So I've just been really aware of that, and of the tenderness and the sweetness of being alive right now, and how everything can change in a heartbeat. So, one of the things that's happened is I feel in myself, waves every day at some point, a wave of anxiety or fear or sadness coming up, that regards a lot of different things, and then what do you do with it? So, some people numb out, some people just, it sort of overtakes them. Some people are focusing on, I'm going to get rid of that feeling and move to the positive because I can't stand the fear or the anxiety. So I've been trying to think about and practice for myself, how can I learn from this? How can I grow from it? And how can I stay in some kind of balance and centeredness as I'm doing all of this? So for me, what happens is I feel those feelings come up, and I just try and pay attention to them for a moment, and then I take some deep breaths. So, for me, it's often the breath is the first place that I will go to. It's my portal into changing my state and relaxing. So, and everybody just, take, when you have those feelings, just take a deep breath. And I just really let it come out and breathe. And then I find that I can feel a little bit more grounded in my body, and I can pay attention then to what's going on in my body. Where am I feeling this? Is my stomach tight? Is my chest constricted? Is my throat feeling tight? Is my back a little kinky? What's going on? And then what I really like to do is I like to start to have a conversation with my body. Oh, okay. So what do you want me to know right now? And I begin to have a dialogue with that part of my body to find out, what does it want me to know? What is it trying to say to me at this moment? And I listen to that, and I just try to listen. So this morning I had a little bit as I woke up. My daughter is a nurse, and she's working at St. Elizabeth's Hospital, and her floor is a surgical floor. And because they're not doing any of the surgeries now that aren't emergencies, her floor has been closed down, and she's been working on another one, and they're just starting to get some COVID patients on the floor, presumed at this point. And she thinks that her floor might, in fact, be turned into a COVID floor because it was pretty much emptied out because they weren't using it for the surgery. And so this anxiety came up. She's going back to work tonight. And I started to feel this tightness in my stomach as I was thinking about her being there and being in such a vulnerable place. So I just had to go in and think about that. And it was just like this, it was fear, and it was sadness, and it was the missing her, missing being able to actually do anything but talk to her on the phone, and know that as a parent, I was just feeling kind of helpless. So then I just did some deep breaths and got back in touch with her. Okay, I talked with her yesterday and everything's fine. And I'm doing well right now, and we'll just, she's taking good care, and came back to my own, to myself, and to my body, and feeling more grounded. So it's for me, it's this ongoing, constant process in that. Um, and it's I suspect that, I have a feeling that things are going to get. We're here in the States. We're almost at the beginning of this. We're going to start seeing a lot more is going to be happening for a while. So we have to kind of figure out how are we going to stay in these places. So the
And
breath.
you've got a question in the chat if you want to answer it before we move on. It's a good
I would
question, actually.
love to.
Sean
Okay.
says, I'll read it to you. You don't have to follow it.
Okay. Okay.
Hopefully you can hear me all right, because I got an unstable
Yeah,
connection.
I hear you great.
Great. Sean asks what to do when you don't get an answer from a part of the body that's trying to tell you something, like, you feel the sensation, but you're not getting any information.
Yeah, that's a great question. I went for years like that too. Sometimes what I do is I just start going back and forth. I do something called aspecting, which is, I'll get into that a little bit. So I feel the feeling. And then if there's a part like so, and I'm not getting anything, what I might do is I'll start talking to that part of me and telling it what I'm experiencing. So, okay, so I've got this pain and it's really bugging me, and now I can't do this. And I'm wondering what you're trying to tell me, and not getting any answers, whatever it is. And then I set up so that I'm sitting and I have a pillow opposite me, and the pain would be on the pillow. So I'd put the pain over there and I'd talk to it. And then I'll switch and I'll sit on the pillow and be the pain, be that part of the body. And I'll just start making something up, just start talking as if I'm that pain. So I may not be hearing a message at that point or knowing, but I'll pretend in a moment, or as it were, that I am that part of my body and start talking to me. And I'll go back and forth. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes what happens is all of a sudden things start coming out that almost feel like I'm not saying them, that they're just coming from somewhere. And oftentimes I just get a new insight by doing that process. So that's something that you can try. And then the other thing that you can do if you're not getting answers is then I just start to think, okay, so what can I do that might comfort this part of my body? Can I just spend some time? Can I put my hands on it? Can I send it love? Can I give it a little massage? Can I tell it that I know that, something's going on and it's bothering me, but I want you to know I love you? So I just try and change things up and try and be in relationship with that part of myself. So does that answer your question? Good. Okay. So, I think that for me, the other thing I've been thinking a lot about is I'm a psychologist, but I started my career as a nurse, actually. So I've been taking care of patients, and then for about 15 years, I've been semi-retired. I mean, I'm teaching a lot. I don't feel like I'm retired at all, but I don't do my day job anymore. My day job for around 15 years before that was also as a consultant to nursing homes. And so I've done an enormous amount of work with people in death and dying, and working with families and working with illnesses and major transitions in life. And then I also spent, my mom got diagnosed with cancer and was given 4 months to live. And she just decided that was it. She was 89 years old and going to turn 90. And she just wanted to be at home and be with her family until she died. So she took on death probably the most beautifully and consciously of anybody I've ever met in my life. I feel enormously privileged to have had that experience. She really said goodbye to everyone and all her friends, family, including people like the pool guy who came and cleaned her pool every year or every week for years. She would bring him into the kitchen and have a conversation. I sat there with them. He's crying, she's crying. And we would laugh and cry. But what I really came to understand, there was towards the end, when we were down there for the last month, my partner and I, she was in Florida and they had a pool right on the patio in the back. And at night we'd put her to bed and then we'd go swim in the pool and we'd be laughing and have music on. And my mom would talk to me about how amazing, how wonderful and healing it was for her to hear the sound of laughter and of life. And for me, what I realized was how amazingly precious it was for me to be facing losing her and be so acutely aware of death and dying. And it made life so much more vibrant and precious because you realize that it's not there forever. And we forget that so often. So I came to really realize how much life and death inform one another if we pay attention. And that as we're aware of all these, in this, I read an article the other day. The people from Harvard had interviewed David Kessler, who did the work with Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on death and dying. And he was talking about, we're all grieving right now. This is a very deep time of grief for all of us, in the sense that our lives have just been upended. So we're losing, people have lost their work, their ability to go out, vacations that were planned, weddings, graduations, all kinds of, I was going to start traveling in April and be gone for pretty much 3 months out of the next 6 months. Who knows if I'm going anywhere and when, but we're all facing a lot of loss. And when I read that, it was like this, I all of a sudden tapped into the fact that I was feeling all this grief and I hadn't even labeled it that way. I was aware of anxiety and fear and what's going to happen to the economy, but there's a lot of loss going on. So we're in a major time of things being lost and dying, and then the opportunity for rebirth. For what are we going to do with this? What's going to happen as we're in this cocoon and everything's turning into mush and changing, and what butterflies are going to emerge from all of this? So it's a very powerful time for the capacity to be in change, and it's a time.
If anybody has anything to share about that. Also, I don't want to interrupt you, but
No, go right ahead.
I'm just curious if anybody wants to share anything about what Penny's been saying that has to do with, we can say little L, big L, but the losses, big and small, and opportunity for rebirth and thriving during this time. Anybody thinking about that or journaling about that, that's willing to share with the rest of us? And just put me in the chat and I'll unmute you.
Yeah, somebody has their hand up.
Oh, great.
Julie Oxen? No?
Yep. Let's have Julie and then Janice. So let me find Julie. Oh, Julie, do you want to unmute? I can unmute you too. There we go.
Okay.
Let's hear from Julie first and then Janice.
Yeah, it is such a strange time, and I'm just kind of stumbling through this and getting, used to whatever it is, or even getting to know whatever it is. But I think one thing that has struck me is just, I'm kind of amazed that our world has been able to slow down this much, this relatively quickly. That, and as people have talked about, the amount of fossil fuels that we put into the air and how dramatically that is being, reduced very suddenly. And I think the opportunity to really try to now think about, when we come back and resume, like how to do that in a way that is somewhat significantly less. If we could shut things down to this point and people are finding ways, is there an opportunity to come back in a different way, especially around the issue of how we're, dealing with the earth. So that's been a thought of mine in terms of both grief and opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Julie. Really important. It's been a big part of my thinking as well.
Me too.
And Janice, you're unmuted.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. My experience is a little different. I'm from New Jersey, and we lost my 99-year-old mother on Friday the 13th. And that was right before everything was issued closed in New Jersey. So my family and I decided on ourselves that we would just have a private funeral because we didn't want to expose ourselves to anyone. It was just after that the state closed and no activity. And for me, it has been a gift because I used to my mother out every Sunday and sleep over her house on Sunday night. She lived in an apartment above my brother. My brother lives in a duplex, and I would sleep over there every Sunday night. And Thursday, I would go to work. I worked in her town, and I would go over to her house and have dinner on Thursdays and sleep overnight. And now I don't have to face not going there, like going to church on Sunday and not going to my mom's, going to work on Thursday and not going to my mom's. They would be triggers for grief for me. And I know that I should be feeling more grief about her loss right now than I do, but I think I'm not because the world is turned upside down. And I guess the grief that I'm feeling is different. It's not actually for the loss of my mom because I haven't had to face that. It's this other grief that you're talking about. So it's kind of a strange situation. And I part of me feels guilty for tell me you'll feel it later. You're just in a different state right now, and it's just a little strange for me. I mean, it's strange for everybody, but it's strange for me in a different way.
Right. Well,
I just wanted to share that.
Yeah. So this whole thing has changed major transitions in how we deal with them. The same way as you would have had it happened at a different time. So,
right.
And the grief process is so unique to all of us. And what's going on, and it will just emerge as it emerges. And I find even this past month, and my mom's been gone a number of years now, I realized I would have been calling her every day if she was still here. I miss those.
So many of our family members are out of state, and we learned right after my mom passed that my nephew in New York City came down with the virus. He's fine. His 2 weeks are over and he's good, but he couldn't come to the funeral. My niece is in California and her daughter has lung issues, and so she couldn't risk bringing anything back. My nephew is in Colorado and we told him, just don't come. So we had my daughter set up a computer at the funeral and we had everybody on Zoom. So that was my first experience with the Zoom, and here I am again now. But we had everyone watching. It was just like 9 of us at the funeral home but everybody else was watching on Zoom. So that was helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Thank
Yeah,
God for Zoom.
thank God we're in
Thanks
this
for
time.
sharing.
I mean, if we were back in the day without internet and all these technological
Yeah.
capacities, how isolating this would be right now. And I don't even know how they would manage it, but it's a blessing that we can at least connect this way with one another.
Mm.
And I think that,
Oddly
go ahead.
enough, my grandfather passed away in the flu epidemic in 1918.
Wow. Interesting.
Wow.
So it's what my cousins and I have been talking about that, and that's another weird synchronicity.
Right. Yeah.
So Penny, I would love to hear, and it was just on the heels of what Janice shared, like how to be present with all of these things that,
Right.
or maybe even some tools
You know,
that people are using, but I'd love to hear
right.
on that.
Yeah. So I think that, it is really, it's calling us to pay more attention and to what's going on inside of us right now and what feelings are arising. And as they do is the fear and the anxiety and the sadness and the frustrations they're all going to be there. They're all going to arise. And so if we can pay attention to them now and just acknowledge them, I find that the more that I'm practicing this throughout the day, the quicker things go. So if I feel the anxiety or the fear coming and I pay attention to it and I take a couple of deep breaths right there, and sometimes I just stop what I'm doing and sit down and kind of feel into my body and say, okay, I'm here, I feel you. And I spend a few minutes. Sometimes all that feeling wants is you're acknowledging it, just to say, okay, I'll be with you. What would you like? I'll spend some time with you right now, and we'll feel this. And then I do a little more breathing. If I feel like something's come up that like the fear is just so big that I can't get away from it, it feels stuck in my body, then I use some other tools. So I'll use some emotional release tools. Maybe I'll pound a pillow, or I'll scream into my hand. So that there's a number of things. If I'm feeling grief and I can't get that out, if you literally like spread your arms out wide and kind of go towards your back, it pulls your chest open, which opens your heart up. And when you open your heart like that, and then you can just and cry, wail. That's a really good way to move grief through your body, and the loss.
So just sound is what you're saying?
Yeah,
like open,
sound.
Chest back.
Open, chest
because
back.
I know we're holding everything in our bodies, so it's like any kind of movement opening is so helpful.
Right. Yeah. In Tantra, right. And in Tantra, in that world, what happens with all energy, if you want to move energy, it's all through breath, movement, and sound. So those are the three key things for you to remember when you're feeling stuck with stuff in your body that you want to move. It's breath, movement, and sound. And, sometimes just, you can just shake and shake your body. In nature, if you watch, a deer has been traumatized, stalked by some animal, and it's, been in fear, the minute the danger passes, it just shakes. The body just, and then they go, running off and play in the field. They're done. So they just process fear or, trauma immediately in their bodies. And we can do that too. So if you get into the practice of noticing, and when it feels stuck, do something to release it. If you're feeling angry, put a pillow in front of you and literally just pound on it until you make noises and talk to it. You'll move the energy. And then if I do that and then I get up, then I go back and I breathe. I take a few deep breaths. I ground. I send roots down into the earth, open up my crown to the sky and bring that energy down. Then I usually end with I'll take the energy from the earth and the energy from the sky and bring them together in my heart so that I have that balance. And then I feel connected. I can feel connected to where I am and to the earth and to myself. The other
So,
thing that you can,
okay.
yeah,
I'm gonna
go ahead.
invite us to do something, but should I do it now or wait?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I would actually love
That's
to
good.
do the exercise that you just said, especially because we're all muted, so no one can hear anybody. And I'm gonna mute myself and Penny. So I would love, some of these things are hard to do when we go about our days and we're not used to doing them, you know. I find that if I'm feeling anger, that I might just like be feeling it, but I might not think in that moment, oh, if I pound some pillows or if I, you know, open my chest and spread my arms and I yell, it's actually gonna, like, I don't necessarily think about that, about doing that. But during this
Right.
time, as you're saying, we're not like the deer, you know, we're human, so we like grab onto things and tuck them into the left shoulder and it becomes an injury, and like the left hip or kinking back or whatever. It's like our bodies are holding on to our memories, our lives, our trauma. And certainly now when so much is happening emotionally, it's almost like we're at risk for keeping more in our bodies. And so,
Yep.
but we have this time and this conscious awareness, because our worlds have gotten so much smaller in some ways, bigger, yes, in many ways, but also smaller. So we have this opportunity to actually keep processing emotions through, as you keep mentioning, with the breath and our awareness and some emotional release practices, so that on the other side of this, we're not like in more pain or stuck or, you know, I think it's really, really important what you're saying. And I find, before we do the exercise, I want to say that when I do the pillows, sort of, I call it like a temper tantrum. I sometimes, I'm not really necessarily feeling the anger necessarily, but when I pile up pillows and start pounding them, I sit on my knees and I start pounding them with my fists. Even if I'm not feeling anger, I will start feeling really angry as I'm doing that. And then usually I usually reach a deep place of grief, and then I just cry and cry and let it out and let it go. But I just wanted to say that when I sit down, I'm just like doing the action, like, okay, I'm gonna hit the pillow. And then I might tell myself, you know, I'm pissed about this and I'm angry at this and that person and blah, 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 whatever. And the next thing you know, it's moving from my belly, where it's stuck, up and out my body and my mouth and my throat and my heart, so that it's dissipated by the time I'm done.
Right.
And it doesn't take very long.
Yep.
So I was just thinking we could do that with all of us on mute, including you and me, Penny. But I just want to say one thing about it. Some people are alone, so they can make some sound, and some people aren't. So if you're not alone, you can pretend to make sound, or you can put your hands like this or a pillow and just make some sound. So I'm just going to invite us to make some sound, I guess, because I think it's good to practice it and see what it's like in your body, so that you know how to do it. Yeah. So people might be like, oh my God, I'm not going to do that.
If you,
you're my husband. Yeah. So in silence, go ahead.
If you cover your mouth when you yell, it doesn't make a lot of sound. You can, so you're not going to scare anybody with that. You get the feeling of it.
Right. Get the feeling of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you guide us in that, and I'm going to mute myself, and then I'm going to mute, everyone's muted anyway. Yeah.
So you can cover your mouth if you want to yell. You can open up wide if you want to cry. You can pound on a pillow if you want to pound a pillow. So just feel whatever it is. That's right. Just
Or opening your, I like this one, opening your chest and your heart and then sound.
Yep.
So we're just going to give you like 30 seconds. You can turn your video off. Give yourself some privacy. Go ahead and do that.
Good.
All right. I hope everybody tried one thing there. I
And
did
Yeah.
the loud sounds. I hope my neighbors might have heard me, but whatever. Anybody want to share anything about what they did? It sounds like Dennis, I did vocal exercises. He'll think I'm doing couch warm-ups. Very good. I definitely scared my neighbors, says Jessica. This time it's good. Maybe the neighbors will join in because they need it also, right?
Right.
Voice warm-ups, anything anybody wants to put in the chat that they did in that moment and any feelings about it. I'm hot. Had a little gag reflex. Yeah. Love it.
Yeah. And, feel the energy that's moving in your body and the aliveness that's actually there right now. It brings a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
to you.
true, actually.
Yeah.
Releases it as the life force.
Releases a lot, and you feel that life force energy coming back into you. So that's really great. And then oftentimes what I do in the full process for me is that after I've done the emotional release and then I go back, I take another couple of deep breaths, I ground, and then I move into gratitudes. And I take a moment to just think of the things that I'm grateful for right now. Here I am in my house and it's warm and I happen to have roommates here, so I'm not alone. My refrigerator is full of food and we're cooking, and my kids, who are both on the front line, are safe for the moment. Think about the things that you're grateful for. And then oftentimes what I'll end with is just finding something that reminds me of the beauty of life, of the awe and of the sacredness. It might be just right now I still have a few live flowers left. That will not last for long, but it can be a sunset, it can be a smile, it can be just some beautiful thing that you have, so you can remember. Here we are. Yeah. And I love ritual as well, and so I have a little altar set up, and I'll light candles, and it's where I might say prayers for my family, for the world, for community, for some particular person. So those things make a big difference too. I'm going to show you. Let me see if I can. I never know how to do all this. Flip the camera around. This is my little altar here. The candle's lit, and I have a Buddha for abundance, and a Mary from Guadalupe from Mexico, and some crystals, and a lot of hearts, a lot of stone hearts, because that always makes me feel better. So
that's awesome. So good to see that, actually. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So I just, that for me brings me back into the sacredness of life and my relationship with being sacred. So Yeah.
I wonder.
And
Thank you. Go ahead.
yeah.
I want to leave some
No,
time
go
for
ahead.
questions. I was just wondering if anybody
Yeah,
had
yeah.
any questions. Janice says creating a home altar is a great activity during this downtime. Yeah, really, really good idea as we're thinking about things to do while we're home, things that might need to be done, and then also things that, maybe we've never tried before. Creating an
Right.
altar is a really nice one.
Yeah.
I've got them
Yeah.
all over my house.
Yeah. And I think on Sunday I'm gonna be doing a breathwork session on Zoom, and then and within a week or so I'll do a Zoom on emotional release techniques where we can actually all
Get people
learn that
moving a
and
little bit.
practice together. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Great. Yeah, that's wonderful. Anybody have any questions in the last few minutes here, 10 minutes or so? Type of questions, comments, especially there was some great comments about the emotional release we just did. People said that was fun. They felt great. Adrenaline flowing. I think it was Erin who said I might not have needed it, but it felt great. And I think that, yeah, I'm just going to read your comment in here. I don't feel stressed. I've handled worse, but I do feel very tired. I think it's because I'm an empath. Any tips? Okay, let's get to that in a moment. Yes. But I think what you said first, Erin, was really important, because you said, like, I didn't know if I needed that, but it was great to do it. And I think that's what I was sort of referring to before, that sometimes I feel anger and I'll take that opportunity, but sometimes I don't actually feel it, or I'm not aware that I'm feeling something. And so I think this regular practice, which I'm going to suggest daily at this point, during this time especially, where there's just some opportunity to release what is moving through, whatever you're feeling inside. If you're an empath, like Erin just said, and like many of us here, if there's anything you're picking up from the outside, I have a great exercise for you, by the way, and Penny might have some more tips, but we just have a daily practice, and maybe you go for a run outside or a walk in the woods, but anything where you can release and have the intention of releasing is part of what's really important, is to have that intention that you're releasing, so that we do that regularly. And again, we don't hold on to things. So even if, I'm like, oh, I feel fine, I feel great today, I've been really creative, I took care of myself well, so I'm still having feelings about what's going on,
Right. Right.
Dancing inside, yeah, great release. Dancing is wonderful. Erin, I just want to, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Penny, but I don't know if, Erin, you were on any of the things I've been doing recently, but I have been teaching this very simple way of releasing if you're tuned into what's going on globally in an intense way that's causing disruption. So I'll just invite everybody to do it. It'll take us 30 seconds. And especially if you're one who identifies and knows that you're empath. So you're feeling, what that means is you're feeling other people's feelings. And in a case like this, you might be feeling what's going on with a lot of people, and on a global level, it can be really intense. And for me, when this started happening, my radar was out there, and I was like a mess for a week. That thankfully has completely passed. And this is an exercise I do regularly. So you put your hands up. Everybody can do that. And your palms are like the antenna. And those antennas, when your hands are up like this, are picking up what's going on in the world, like the radio waves, So you just can close your eyes for a moment and just be aware, when I'm like this, I am picking up what's happening out there, whether it's your family or the country or the world, at whatever level and beyond. And then with your breath, I'm going to invite you to shut that down and bring your attention to yourself by just very simply, but intentionally, powerfully, closing your fists and bringing them to your lap. And now you just shift the attention, now is right in front of you and not out in the world. So it's an energetic shift, and you're doing it with your physical body. And now the space with your fists on your lap, and your attention and your energy is right in front of you. And then you can choose to take it one step further, and that would be to open your hands and go inside. So what you were doing with your palms out and tuning into the world out there, when you have your palms facing in after you do the exercise, now you're tuning into what's going in inside. And then, you know, like Penny was saying, you know, take a breath, follow your breath, tune into what's happening inside. So it's really important when you find yourself weary and stressed, to shift that energy with a lot of clarity from, I'm letting that go, I'm coming back to myself, and now I'm going to tune in inside and let go of that outside radar that many of us have. So I hope that helps. Sorry if you can't see me. Hopefully you can hear me. I don't know what's going on with my computer this morning, or my Wi-Fi. Can I go through that again quickly, please? We could see it all. Okay. Hands out, up, so that you're like the antenna of a radio. Think about it that way, or a TV screen where you're picking everything up. Close your eyes, fists down to the lap. That brings your attention in front of you, and you're disconnected from what's happening out there in the world. Open the hands if you choose to. You're looking inside. So you're turning the outward antenna, you're turning it to an inward and an internal antenna. Very simple, really, really effective. Sorry, my videos I don't know, my connection this morning is not that stable for some reason. That's the way it is this morning. But I'm glad you can hear me. And I just want to say thank you so much to Penny for being here. For those of you that weren't here yesterday, know that I will be sending out the recording. So you'll get that later on, probably this evening, taking a little while for things to download from Zoom. I'm sure they're quite busy. But I'll send you an email with the recording, and I'll send a link to Penny's contact information if you want to do some extended breath work or learn some more about emotional release. You can connect with her directly.
And if they're interested, just contact me. I'll put you on my mailing list, and you'll hear about what we're doing. Yeah,
I'll send that out in the email. And oh, okay. Thank you, Sylvia, for the note. The world of Wi-Fi these days, interesting. Thanks for your patience and your love. And and then please come back tomorrow. We have Elizabeth Carrington, 9 a.m. and she's going to be talking about connecting with yourself and connecting with the one being yourself during this time. So that'll be really beautiful. She comes from a strong background of coaching and a lot of study with the erotic blueprints. And so that'll be interesting to see how all that weaves together. It'll be really, really nice to be here with all of you. Grab your coffee, stay in your pajamas, whatever works for you. I'll leave the chat open for another moment for people who want to send any notes that I'm getting, all these delicious love notes, and I appreciate it. And I will see you all tomorrow morning. And Penny, thank you again so much. Thank you for bringing presence. Thank you for bringing the reminder of the breath. Thank you for bringing your perspective with your mom and all of the preciousness of life, in this moment, which is just so important and so important for us to keep coming back to again and again right now. So I really appreciate you. Yeah, thank you.
Love you too. Thank you so much. And
yeah,
it's so important for all of us to make these connections right now and remember that we're all here and we're all in this together. And yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Love you all. Have a blessed day.